Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, what's the difference between a cell phone, a smartphone, and let's say a wallet or a briefcase and a vehicle? Well, the Supreme Court weighed in on that today, and joining us to talk about what they ruled 9-0, or if this was a soccer game, it would be 9-0. Janet Johnson, criminal defense attorney, joins us. Hey, Janet.
Hey there, how are you?
Good to speak to you. Okay, so for privacy advocates, this was a big victory and a 9-0 decision. It seemed like the justices were in complete agreement, just about.
Which is surprising. You know, as a defense attorney, I'm going to be using this for sure. And I've actually had results that mirrored this, but it was basically the prosecutor saying, I'm not comfortable using this evidence. But what happened in this case, Riley, the police had a cell phone that was Mr. Riley's cell phone. He was arrested and a phone call kept coming through from my home. So the police ultimately answered the calls, went and looked through other numbers, traced that number to a house, went to the house and executed a search. And essentially what all of the justices said is, because smartphones have information that is just beyond what we've ever compiled in any one place, you need a warrant to get that information. And it's not that hard to do. The police just have to jump through that hoop.
Right, and they also said, and I think Justice Roberts said, get a warrant. Basically, there's a difference here compared to a pack of cigarettes or a wallet or something that could have something that's harmful to a police officer, an arresting officer. But a cell phone, once they make sure that it's not a gun, once they make sure it's not a weapon, what's on the phone, what's contained within the phone, is doesn't pose any immediate threat to the officer, so therefore they can't search it. Correct?
Right. Well, that's a great point, because in Robinson, which is the case that preceded this, that they would argue allowed the search, there was a pack of cigarettes. So that's a great example. But, you know, any warrantless search under the Fourth Amendment is presumed to be illegal because the law requires you to get a warrant. There are exceptions, and those exceptions are the police safety. So when you talk about if it looks like a gun or it could be a weapon, they have the right without a warrant to act hastily and to basically search you or search the area. And the other example would be exigency. If there's some sort of evidence that you're going to lose because you had to go get a warrant, the police can act right then and there. The court said you can argue those all day long, which of course every government tries to argue when they're trying to get around the search requirement, but we don't buy it because it isn't an exigent situation, and it's not, getting a warrant isn't going to harm you.
Right. All right. Now let's move on before we run out of time. Janet, one other major decision today, and that deals with Aereo. They're a streaming TV service, and most of the networks went to court saying, "Hey, they're taking our property. They're taking our signals, our air signals, and they're streaming it out for everybody, and we lose, you know, what the value of our air signals." And the court agreed.
Yeah, you know, and I've been following this, and I followed the argument, and I thought that they would rule against Aereo, but I think it's wrong. To me, it harkens back to the Betamax decision, which is, you know, 30, 40 years old at this point. No one has Betamax anymore. But at the cutting edge time when Betamax came out, there were people who argued, you're stealing our content. And the Supreme Court said, no, this is technology, and basically you have to keep up with it. This court, I don't think, gets that this is technology, and so they said, no, you look like a cable company, you act like a cable company, so we're going to treat you like one, and we're going to shoot you down.
Yeah, yeah, I see. I mean, the Betamax, you're talking about VCRs and taping programs?
Right, which, you know, used to be considered illegal.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. But again, that's it's a little different because, you know, if as long as it's on, you're getting ratings credit for it if it was even hooked up to a ratings TV. But this, I mean, I can see the point here of the network saying this is our stuff, and now this entity is taking it and distributing it. You know, we're going to lose the value of what we have here. Very interesting, and I thank you for joining us for the first time. Hope you'll come back.
I would love to. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you very much. All right, 2 Supreme Court decisions today, folks, and there will be more before the end of the session, which is rapidly approaching. Okay, we'll be back with Gary Bauer, and you're going to be very interested to hear what he has to say about secularism and more. But first, You know what it is? It's today's America's Moment. And today, we take a look back at the Louisiana Purchase all the way back in 1803.
Thomas Jefferson is credited with doubling the nation's size through the Louisiana Purchase. But it was events far beyond his control that made that purchase possible. After becoming president in 1801, Jefferson recognized the Mississippi River had become a major trade route bordering the eastern boundaries of the United States. But he also recognized its vulnerability, since the city that controlled the mouth of the Mississippi, New Orleans, was owned by the French. America's overtures to purchase the city of New Orleans were repeatedly rejected by the French until 1803, when the French Navy suffered a major defeat off the coast of what is now Haiti. Napoleon found himself needing money to rebuild his navy. Consequently, when in that same year, Secretary of State James Monroe again traveled to Paris with an offer to purchase New Orleans, he was pleasantly surprised to learn Napoleon was willing to sell not only New Orleans, but all of France's territories in the New World. The United States was ready to spend up to $10 million to purchase just the city. So when Napoleon offered to sell all of their land holdings for a total of $15 million, the future president accepted. In one action, 828,000 square miles covering the future states of Arkansas, Colorado, Iowa, Kansas, Minnesota, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, New Mexico, North Dakota, South Dakota, Oklahoma, Texas, and Wyoming became part of America for less than 3 cents per acre. For Newsmax TV, I'm Bill Curtis, and this